is that a leaf blower I hear? Are you landscaping your office right now?
No, mate, that's just the cooling fan. I turned the PS2 on a couple of minutes ago and I think it's preparing for orbit.
It sounds like it's trying to digest a marble. I mean, did you put a disc in or just a handful of gravel?
No, it's a legit copy of Ratchet and Clank, but the disk drive is currently negotiating with the laser.
Do you not hear that? That's the sound of our childhoods being slowly sanded down by an optical drive. Why do we keep doing this to ourselves?
Because of the payoff, man. Just wait for it. Stay quiet.
Okay, fine, you win. That sound still hits like a shot of pure dopamine, though. It sounds like the future, if the future was designed by a wizard in a basement.
Right, it's the emotion engine, man. It's not just a processor, it's a mood, even if that mood is currently extreme fan noise.
I just hope it doesn't overheat before we finish the intro. It's starting to smell like ozone and 2002 in here.
That's not a smell, mate. That's nostalgia. And that's the magic of the PS2, baby. Welcome to the show.
Dan with a gaming flair, pixel dreams and worlds to share, joystick tales and button cues. Welcome to Gaming View.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show, Gaming View. We are Gaming View. We are Gaming Views. I'm Dan H, and with me is our very own sequel, this time with an emotion engine and a chip especially designed to ensure that he continues to be backwards compatible with all of our previous episodes. It is Mr. Dan P. How you doing, Mr. P?
I'm grateful you introduced me because the way my words have been working today, this should be a fun 90
Your words,
minutes.
not wording.
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, I love that term, the emotion engine. It's great.
Oh, marketing bullshit. What can't we do without it?
Backwards compatible. Code for it. He's old.
I was trying to be nice, man. I was trying to do
multi-generational.
He is. You are multi-generational. You've got many generations. No, that makes you sound old still as well, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, mate. Yeah. It's been. It's post Easter, post kids' holiday. They're all back at school. Fucking yes. I still haven't had any time for gaming, but it's fine. Other than that, yeah. But what about you? What you been playing, Dan?
What have I been playing? It's not too much different to the last couple of weeks, but that should change next week. So,
Yes.
Finished Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly remake.
Got it. You got there in the end.
Yeah, I finished that. It's a really good game. I think I was saying to you today, and I said on previous episodes, I really enjoy the atmosphere in it. It's really creepy. Quite, obviously no spoilers, but it's quite a dark storyline when you see it through to its.
Yeah, I think I said to you, I don't think I ever finished it, so I don't think I know what the whole thing is. I don't want to spoil. I will buy it at some point.
But yeah, no, really good. It's not. I find, we spoke about Resident Evil a couple of weeks ago, and I find some of those older games, especially the horror games, there's a period where it can get a bit tedious, where you're doing a lot of backtracking and the puzzles. I found this game didn't. Are
you looking at Resident Evil? Are you looking at Resident Evil right there?
Well, this is what I was saying. We kind of mentioned in that, and I find that this game fortunately didn't suffer from bits like that. I wish I paid sort of more attention to some of the mechanics early on because I really helped myself out later. I think I was saying to you, and then anyone who's playing will know this. So the main, obviously, gist of the game is you've got a camera and that's your battle. You're taking pictures of the ghosts with that. By standard, when you're aiming the camera, so each ghost gets like a circle that you're trying to aim for. The camera's got 5 focal points, quite concentrated in the screen. And there was bits where I'm trying to rush it around the screen, trying to grab hold of it when the wraiths are rushing you. Later on, I realised I had so many of these, I think they're prayer beads, which is your upgrade points. Yeah. I just maxed the focal points. So literally the whole screen was full of focal points. So it made the end so much easier.
Dan's life easier immediately.
But yeah, so I completed that. And yeah, as I said, really good. Really recommend it if you like your horror games. Still ploughing through Stellar Blade 2, but I think as of now, I've probably got another evenings go on it, and that's done. I've done all the side missions I want to do. by that I mean I'm not going to do all the fishing, because it's got a fishing game mechanic. I'm not going to do all the photo quests in it. So I've done all the side quests I can. I'm now on the penultimate chapter. And again,
have you had the point of no return? Like, is there there is?
It does warn you, because it says, oh, where we're going is quite some distance. So you sure you want to leave now, or make sure you finish up what you do before we leave? And it's like, so you get the warning.
There's a couple of games where in the past where they've done that and it hasn't been that. Do you know what I mean? It's gone, make sure this is the point of no return. And then you play in the game, you go, but it just isn't. I can still carry on doing stuff. Why did you tell me I couldn't? And then you still can't. There's one recently, I can't remember what it was. And I was just like, fucking, why do you do that?
No, this one definitely takes you away from where you're at. Whether it's got a post game state, but I've not, like I said, I'm not there yet, so I don't know. Oh, sure. And I do want to do a correction from me last week. So I talked about how it mixes up the gameplays, and I talked about a couple of levels where it's like a shooting range, like a third person. I think that's only because I've got the deluxe edition, which has got all the DLC. So I think that's part of the DLC missions.
That very, very misleading. A bit like when you said, I've also been playing Stellar Blade 2. Like you as in also, people might go, Stellar Blade 2,
clip
is that out?
clip that. Yeah, we've got an early preview. No. I wish. Yeah. So again, not much more to say other than I'm really enjoying it. I'm 34 hours in. So I reckon by the time I finish it, sort of 36 odd hours. So yeah, no, really, really good game. Some really good bosses. The only other new game I've started to play, and I say started because I've not got too far into it, but it's called Nutmeg. Now,
old Nutmeg.
If you don't know what this is, this is how I've seen it referred to, and I think it's a bit of a cheap way of referring to it, but it's called like Balatro, but for football fans.
Okay.
So
hang on, wasn't Rocket League racing, but for football fans?
Rocket League,
not racing. Yeah, it was cars and football,
but for racing, like stock car racing. I was like, yeah. Now this is Balatro, but football. So, but by that it's because it's got a card mechanic at its core. So,
okay.
It's a football game which you've got. So you get a deck of cards. Well, there's a deck of cards, and you've got skill cards, etc. And the way a game plays out is either you're attacking or defending, and if you're defending, say you get a couple of cards dealt out and your opponent is getting attacking cards, you've got your defensive cards, and it's about who's got the higher percentage. So you could choose to do a slide tackle, and it's how much percentage have you got to do that. You can apply modifiers to it to increase your chance. And you've got to either stop, obviously, the opponent scoring, or when you're attacking, you've got to try score the goals, and whoever scores more goals wins, right?
Is that how football works?
There's a tip. I know you love your football.
I do. Yeah, I love football. I never knew that was the point of the game, though.
But more so than this, for me, the reason why I got attracted to this is it's kind of set in like the 80s. It's got like an 80s vibe to it.
Yes.
So your office is where the majority of the game is going to be take place, is in like, it looks like an old 80s sitcom like trailer almost set up, and you've got your players and your staff. When you look at them, they're in a sticker book. So basically the sticker book opens and you've got your players, and then you turn the page over and you've got your staff. So it scratches that nostalgia itch. You've got a little CRT TV in the corner, which you've got CFAX on it. So remember that? Yeah.
Page the Oracle.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember that.
It's got CFAX. So it's got the sports page. You're
going to have to do that thing, Dan. You're going to have to explain to everyone what CFAX was.
CFAX was kind of like a mini internet on a TV, wasn't it? But it was just text.
Teletext. Yeah, it was fucking atrocious. And all you ever did when about the age of 12 or 13 was try and hunt down the kids section, which you could never find, which had little puzzles and things.
I loved it. So so basically, there was a button called text. You put it on, and BBC had its own version. That was CFAX, wasn't it? And
yes, yeah.
ITV was Teletext. But you had like your sports channels, your entertainment. But then Channel 4 started bringing in games. Do you remember Bamboozle?
I do. You know what? It was the red button before the red button.
It was kind of.
That's what it was. Yeah. That's what it was, dude. And you had to type in a number, like flicking through a catalogue to try and find the page that you wanted to go to. It was horrendous.
Well, you could buy holidays, wasn't it? Yeah, you could order the holidays. But the thing, while we're still on this tangent, the thing that always got me was, say, like, you was looking for your football scores, because before the internet, we had to use CFAX, right?
Yeah.
It would be on a few pages. Are you talking about
if you did the pools?
Yeah. Spot the ball. No, you had a number of pages, so it could only display a certain amount, right? You weren't scrolling, and it would tell you in the top, like page 1 of 6. Guaranteed, whenever I went to that page I wanted, it was already past it, so I had to wait for page 3, page 4, page 5, page. Here we go. But you could hold. You could hold it. So,
you could hold it. You know, but it was like when you're waiting for the train stations and then they will change. Yeah. Like, oh shit, I've missed the one. Now I'm going to have to stand around and wait for it again. It was like that on the telly.
If someone calls you, you turn your gaze for a second, and then you turn back and it's gone. But
it's appalling.
I loved it. But you said, yes, you've got that screen, and it's got like the sports section. It's got an entertainment section, so it has like reviews of the latest Star Wars film. You've got a little computer screen in the bottom where you've got your finance. So it's packaged in a really great kind of nostalgic feel. Like your tactics, you go to the left of the screen, and there's a little flipboard that makes way, and it flips over, and that's where you choose your tactics. And
what, like the old coach thing where the drawings crosses and circles on a thing and a
So I've
like a whiteboard thing.
Yeah, I've not got too far into the game itself, and I think I said to you, because it's one of the ones it does chuck everything right at you right to start, and I wasn't really paying attention too much, so I think I want to do the tutorial again. But like I said, it's got that really cool hook. So you've got your nostalgia. It's probably got a bit more on the management side than wanted. And by that, you've even got to do like some finance stuff. So you've got to choose which items of merch you want to stock and check to see how they're selling and do the price. So it's got a little bit of management, but I'm not going to call it a footy management game. But it's really fun how they've turned a game of football into like a 2-player card game. Yeah. Yeah. Well, when I say 2-player, it's single player. You're
playing against someone. Yeah. Is it has the same? Well, you haven't played enough to know if it's like Balatro, if it's got the same hook.
I think it will. But I think
that's a bold statement. That's a bold statement. Joey might have you for that.
Well, Joey likes football. Well, no, Joey likes football.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. That's where I'm going with this. Is it going to be? Is he going to disappear down a nutmeg shaped hole for a year?
No, I think Balatro has got the quick and easy factor, in the sense, it is it's a game of poker and you're straight into it. Whereas this has got all the other things like the tactics and I said, the part of the management side of things. So I think accessible is a word I'm thinking of. I think Balatro is probably a bit more accessible.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, I'll give it a couple more weeks and have a look. But it's something fun, something different. It's Stellar Blade and Fatal Frame 2, quite heavy going. So
yeah, I can imagine. But there's lots coming up as well. There's tons of really cool games coming out. So it just feels like a really good time of the year. What a time to be alive.
So talk about lots of games. What have you been playing?
Not so many. I said last week I finished Planet Lana. So I did pick up Planet Lana 2. I'm about halfway through the 3rd chapter. So not massively in, maybe an hour and a half. Again, I don't think it's a massive game. Like the second one was you could probably end to end it in 4 or 5 hours. I think this is probably similar, maybe a little bit bigger. It feels a little bit grander in scope, in terms of, although you went to different territories in the first game, you were very much moving through them. Whereas this one, at the end of chapter 2, you kind of get dropped off in a new territory, like it's a snowy mountain region. So it's very different, whereas the last one, you kind of went from your region, there was a natural progression to like a swampland, and then it went into kind of this desert, into a cave system, then into this desert, and then into an oasis. So it kind of moved along naturally, whereas this feels like it's jumped into a different, I don't want to spoil the game anyway, but there's a new antagonist in this one, whereas previously it was this kind of I'm going to call it an alien race, but that was, I mean, the game's ages old now, so it won't really matter, but it was kind of like this alien race, not an alien race. There's a new antagonist in this who I've yet to kind of really fall into. It's mainly avoiding creatures that inhabit the planet, which are very similar to the previous game. There's some additional, they're not really mechanics, but I guess one of them is there's a sprint in it now. You can hold down a triggered sprint, whereas before you couldn't. You just either moved at a walking pace or a slightly quicker walking pace. You can sprint now and you can slide under things, which, you know, adds some additional elements to some of the puzzles. For those who haven't played it, you get a sidekick, and basically his little alien, and his job, he can control other alien species. So it's quite limited in the first game. They've kind of expanded that in this game so that, you know, you control fish, you can control the ones that just started on, the little beings that can leave a trail to light things on fire. So there's new mechanics in that respect that have introduced other elements to puzzles, which is quite cool. But not quite there, and it hasn't grabbed me in the same way from a story perspective. But you know, I'm going to crack on with it and play a bit. I think the difference also was that I started playing it on Xbox, whereas the last one I was playing on the ROG, and so on the Xbox still, but it was on the handheld, and I think that added something to it while I was away playing it. I think, you know, it gave me that reason to pick up and play it, whereas this one hasn't so much. And then I've been playing, I don't know if you've heard of it, a little game called Crimson Desert still. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, probably not on the podcast. I know it's not very popular. The game's just sucked me in. It's so massive and so weird and so wonderful and so many layers and contextual things to it that it's just silly. I was saying to you the other day, I was wandering around. I just found a wildlife park, found a zoo with people wandering around, looking at elephants and rhinos and kangaroos, wallabies, or whatever, little kangaroos. And I'm just like, why is this here? What is it? What is it adding to the game? Nothing. It's just there. It's just have it. Thanks.
It's pretty cool that you're 60 hours in?
I must be about 60 hours now, yeah.
And you're still finding new features.
Yeah, about a third of the way through the main quest. Just gone off and done random shit. And then because it gives you when you're doing some of the sub quests, you work for certain houses, a bit like Game of Thrones. Not really like Game of Thrones. You work for certain houses and you got, you know, quest 4 of 7 or whatever. So it gives you, and you go, I've pretty much done it. And I was watching someone on YouTube playing it and they brought up the same menu, but that same house had 24 quests. I'm like, when did they get more? So there must be things that then progress and then they add more in. And I was like, I thought I was nearly at the end of that one. No, there's more. So it amazes me. And the stuff that people are finding that is completely hidden in the depths of the game that just isn't spoken about or talked about or even, you know, and somebody's just found it and put it on YouTube and just gone, that's this thing. And you're like, how did you even think to do that thing? How did you even find it by accident, to the point where, like you said earlier, maybe the developers are kind of seeding some stuff out to the community? Because I can't think of how else, because it's just stuff that you'd be like, I said to you earlier, you know, in some of the temples or whatever, you think, I finished that puzzle's done, I'm finished with it. And then I find out today, no, there's another layer to that puzzle. And you're like, oh my God, this game's just turned into blueprints. What happened? I don't understand. Why is there more? That you absolutely don't have to do. It means to have no meaning to the game. It will give you some extra thing that might do something later on, but you're just like, yes, but I'm very hopeful that we've just seen some of the reviews for Pragmata come out and Replaced is out tomorrow, and I've just dated the episode, but I'm just kind of like, oh my God, I need something to kind of go just over here for a second, Dan, just step away from Pywell.
Well, we might talk about some of these games in an upcoming episode, but I was going to say that to you because I don't think we ended up talking about it a week or two ago, but there was that article out, wasn't it, that post-game completion blues is a thing. And especially with RPGs. And, you know, I was thinking you probably were going to have a hard time, but with so many good games on the horizon, as in literally this week alone, there were 3 games. You got Mouse PI, Pragmata and Replaced coming out. I know it happens to me all the time. So having 2 big games that I was going to finish, or I'm going to finish this week, I know it would hit me, because every time, lock your ears for a couple of seconds, Dan, every time I complete Mass Effect trilogy, it takes me a while to find another game. It does. Now, even though I've played that so many times And we've said it, or the article said it's mainly going to be the RPGs because it's the ones you've sunk a lot of time in. You're exploring everything. It's it's not to say a 6-hour game can't impact you as much, but it's the RPGs where you're sort of scouring every area and sort of every bookshelf for a book that might give you extra skill points or something. It takes
amazing
up your time.
the number, and even for this one alone, it's amazing the number of videos that are out there on YouTube of people advising you how to play the game. Not in terms of the mechanics, but just saying don't stick to just this one main region, because you start in the main region called Hanand, and I think you could probably end to end, from what I've seen so far, there might be it takes you some places on the map a bit later, but this map is ridiculously big. I think Hanand maybe takes up a fifth of the map, maybe a little bit less. So the other regions that you can explore, and like I said, I was watching a thing and it was like, if you find this thing, it tells you where the shipwrecks are. And I'm like, there are boats. What? They're like, hang on a minute. I'm inland on a completely landlocked place, and now there are boats around this. So I'm just like, I haven't even seen the sea
ocean.
Yet. I haven't even seen it. Like, so I'm like, oh, what the fuck? So I can't wait to get stuck. And I'm trying to avoid as much of the YouTube stuff as possible. Yeah. I do watch a couple of the mechanics things, just see if I've done something weird, but I'm trying to avoid it because I really want to explore this massive world for myself.
That's why I'm staying away from it a lot. Because I know I'm not going to get to it probably for another 6 months at least now. But
I promise I won't talk about it next week. I will come back with some other games I've played.
No, that's all right. But you did mention in it, so you say you've got a number of houses. So did you say you have to keep a house, or you have to do housekeeping?
No. Oh.
No.
Do that joke again. do that joke again. There was a...
So did you say, Dan, that in Crimson Desert, you have many houses, right? And you have to keep them. So you should be doing housekeeping.
Oh, thanks for reminding me, Dan. Housekeeping. I should do that. Yeah, thanks. Stop talking about Crimson Desert, Hornblower. Yes, housekeeping.
It was on the list again.
Shut up. Yeah, but you threw right, housekeeping. So thank you to all of our listeners and subscribers and viewers and watchers and wherever you watch us. For YouTube specifically, thank you. You don't have to click subscribe if you like what you're hearing, or if you don't like what you're hearing, you don't have to click it. It doesn't mean much to you, but it means the world to Dan and I. So please continue to do that. If you want to recommend the show to someone or just want to get us out there, it's quite tough being a small content creator. But Dan and I do try our best. Well, Dan tries his best. I turn up. So please do like, subscribe, hit follow, whatever other things you do on other platforms that I don't have any interest in, but Dan's really good at. And then I think we got a bit of a thank you, right, as well.
Yeah. So today, actually, literally about an hour or so before we come on, got a notification pop up on X, and it's from Anthony Longmore. So he said something about the tweet was like, "Oh, I'm trying to spread the word, guys," and had a look at the picture, and he has written into Retro Gamer and basically talking about us, and basically has given us a massive shout out and is trying to get us an interview or is saying a collaboration with Retro Gamer. So firstly, thank you, Anthony, because honestly, I messaged Dan because I know, so generally I'm trying to keep on top of the social media because Dan is basically every day head down in the video editing. So I'm trying to do the socials. So I sent it over to you, but I didn't say anything. I just sent you the message. And your reaction, I think, was just like mine, wasn't it?
I was genuinely, because I must admit, I only saw the first bit first. There was a guy saying he's trying to get you worked out now. And I was like, that's lovely. And then I flicked to the picture of the published article and I was like, what a fucking legend. Like, genuinely, thanks, dude.
So I'm not going to read the message out because either go to his profile and have a look.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or even better, buy the magazine and support Definitely the magazine. But to be featured in Retro Gamer twice now, it's just brilliant, isn't it? So...
Absolute legend. Thank you so much. Yeah. I probably don't deserve it, but thanks.
No, of course you do. So a huge thank you to Anthony. Yeah, and glad you're enjoying the episodes. But I was just going to add on. So do drop us a message across any of the socials or even on YouTube. So I won't go into the messages now because it's going to date the episode because it's a couple of weeks ago. But we had one. So the kind of the message in the clip didn't quite come across. It was for the reviews episode. And I remember, we had a couple of messages at first, and look, they weren't, there wasn't anything wrong with them. But I remember saying to you, because we were going to work, I said, I think the clip, the context of the clip has been lost in the wider thing of the episode. So I responded to the people doing it, and in the end ended up having like a day-long conversation, because it turned out they realised, obviously that, and then we had a conversation. So please do. Yeah, just drop us a message on the platform you're listening to.
If the whole of YouTube could do that, I would love to see Dan fit in the amount of time to be able to respond to them all, because it'd be hilarious. Let's do that.
Yeah, everyone. If you're listening now, leave us a, it doesn't have to be nice, just as long as it's a fairly sensible.
Fucking the door you've just opened. Doesn't have to be nice. Just people slagging us off.
I didn't say it should be horrible. I said, it can be a critical piece on the episode, as long as it's...
moving on to the news, Dan. Stop it.
Can you cut all that out?
When you can't see the top anymore, stop digging. That's the intent. Right, let's get on with some news today. Hey, I thought it was quite a slow news week, and then suddenly it picked up to, as it always does towards the episode. I was like, oh my God, now there's loads.
We should release DLC for our episode or patch it in.
We should patch it. A day one patch for each of our things. I'm not doing more editing. Right, we'll start off with one that I've included because it's relative to a game that you haven't stopped talking about, which is Stellar Blade. Mm-hmm. So the developers of Stellar Blade, Shift Up, have picked up Shinji Mikami. If that name is familiar to our listeners, that's because he of Resident Evil and many other games fame. But they've picked up Shinji Mikami's new studio, which is very exciting. So Shinji Mikami, I think, was either left or was no, I don't think he was asked to leave. I think he left his previous role, started up a new studio, a new Korean studio, Shift Up. And it's already Shift Up has already picked up Unbound, his studio. I'll fluff that. So that's quite cool. But in doing so, he said that I've come to see my vision and ideals are more clearly, and I don't think I've ever been in a situation where, as a creator, our wavelengths and direction align this closely, which is really nice to hear. We talk a lot on this podcast. We often pick up news about studios closing and people. So it's really nice when someone who's obviously put a lot of effort into the industry and given a lot to the industry start something new, and then they find some alignment and harmony with a bigger studio. So that's quite exciting. He was previously at Tango Works. Sorry,
that's what I was going to say. Look, obviously it's early on, and we hope it stays like this. But it's just great to hear excitement when we're talking about studios.
Exactly. It's nice to start picking up again, and I hope long may it continue.
Absolutely.
The next piece of news, not so good. Well, not for Rockstar anyway. So by the time this episode goes out, we will know whether this has been, whether it's true or not, whether there's been an impact from it. So GTA 6 hackers say they will release breached data after a ransomware attack. So some hackers, and I think they are they're an English-speaking group called Shiny Hunters, had essentially hacked Rockstar's Snowflake instance. So this is a data mesh, data lake, whatever you want to call it, for people out there who don't know what that is. It's basically a huge place to store. It's a huge data repository that is a single source of the truth for your organization. Rockstar clearly subscribe to it and have it. And that's been hacked. And the BBC is now reporting that because the Shiny Hunters' demands had not been met, they are due to release the data that they have scraped from Rockstar as of tomorrow. So I think it's the 14th of April. So be very interesting, because Rockstar have remained very, very quiet on this in terms of, other than saying, we were hacked, but it was tiny, don't worry about it type thing. So it would be weird if they weren't aware of the scale of what has happened, if it was at scale. Will it damage? I mean, could it damage GTA 6? I doubt it will damage the release, but it could certainly give away some of the assets, detail, story.
Depends what they've got, right? Isn't it? I think, if anything, it will just feed the hype. It's just going to feed the hype. I mean, two things for me on this. Rockstar, we know that they're quite sort of hardcore in terms of clamping down on anything like this. So yeah,
even videos I put down apparently.
yeah, apparently so. But also just release the game and then you won't have to worry about it. I mean, maybe they're not worried about it because maybe they're bringing the release date forward to tomorrow.
Oh, bless Dan. I love your hope, your false hope. Rockstar had responded. This was to Kotaku. I never know how to say it. Saying that while a limited amount of non-material information, company information was accessed, the incursion would have no impact on their organisation or to players. So I think that means materially, it's not it's no risk to people who signed up to their live service or to Rockstar indeed. So, but it'd be interesting to see if they have actually got anything out of it. So I guess we'll see. What was said is that they normally release this stuff on the dark web and then it filters through to other areas.
It's going to be an interesting standoff, isn't it? Because this has kind of been a threat has been given. So they must feel they've got something of note.
Right.
But also what could they have? Because like I said, I think it will just feed, unless, that we're talking code or anything, which I doubt. Well, I'm not sure, which is then obviously a whole other ball game. But I think it will just help feed the hype for the game. Yeah.
I think you're not wrong. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Next one is I'm going to tie a couple of stories together because that's the power of YouTube. So one was spotted. This is from Eurogamer that a new report claims that Microsoft is considering changing day one access to Call of Duty games on Game Pass. Now, we spoke about this shortly after the launch of Call of Duty last year. That game that looked amazing in the first trailer and was absolutely well. Anyway, I'll leave it to people's opinions. But essentially, at the time, we spoke about this because they'd assumed they'd lost a significant amount of money by not selling the game as they normally would through normal channels. So people had subscribed to Game Pass, played the game, therefore not gone out and bought a copy. So this feels like a bit of a kickback from that because I can't remember who was. It was Windows Central's Jez Corden was essentially saying that. He thinks one of the reasons Microsoft had to raise the price of Game Pass is because of Call of Duty, because of that lost revenue. And that Game Pass, but the purchase of Call of Duty and release on Game Pass has disrupted the business model that Call of Duty had in place in quite a negative way. So, you've now got this lack of revenue being generated by selling the product, at bulk to buyers because of Game Pass. So what do? Well, let's take it off of Game Pass, which feels a bit crazy. And I think the last couple of weeks we've been talking about potential changes to Game Pass, right? I think you talked, was it last week you talked about, maybe needing, they were talking about maybe not releasing all of the day one things and changing that model slightly.
Or having a tier that was just the Microsoft Studios, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was it, just the Microsoft Studios. So, and then just today, Asha Sharma, the new Xbox boss, oh God, say that 3 times. Xbox boss.
I say it once.
It's easy for me to say. Thinks Game Pass is too expensive and needs to evolve. Now, are the two intrinsically linked? Is that evolution stripping out Call of Duty? I don't know. So I'll just give you the quote what she said, and then you can give me your tuppence, mate. So she told staff in an internal memo this week that Game Pass was getting too expensive and needed to evolve and remain flexible. Again, this is from Kotaku. Game Pass is central to gaming value on Xbox. It's clear that the current model isn't the final one. Short term, Game Pass has become too expensive for players, so we need a better value equation. Long term, we will evolve Game Pass into a more flexible system, which will take time to test and learn around. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a long time about this, haven't we? And look, I guess value is, what's the word? Value is a matter of perspective, right? So there'll be people that say, look, if you equate everything or you tally up everything you get in Game Pass, it's actually very good value. And look, and in the past, I agree. But I think from a month to month paying out money, I think it's got too expensive or kind of priced me out, because I was coming to an end of it this month, but I've managed to get another 3 months added on. So there's that. But also, if we're paying a higher premium because of your Call of Duty, Personally, I think Call of Duty has seen the law of diminishing returns over recent iterations. It's not the game it was. I'm not massively into the multiplayer now. So what value am I getting for that? Because, I might not even touch the Call of Duty, but that's a big flagship. And that's what's potentially bumping up the value. And look, they've also got Bethesda games, right? But
yeah, totally.
On the hypocritical side, I love Bethesda games, right? And all the Fallouts and
I mean, they're no Mass Effect, but yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah. But I do think it's for what it is, where you're trying to make people just dip in and out of a game, or if you find a game you like and you're playing that for 2 months, then you start questioning, because everyone says, oh, well, as long as you, and I was doing it, right? As long as you're playing 2 games a month, it works out to good value. Yep. What if I'm just playing the one game? Like, for example, say Crimson Desert, it was on there. It's not, but say it was. You could be playing that for 4, 5, 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So how then does Game Pass become good value then?
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's, I don't know where they're going with this. I don't know what they're going to do. Clearly, she's realised that the value proposition right now isn't the right one, which is fair and aligned to, I think, what a lot of people are thinking. Interestingly, the article on Kotaku does reference the previous story. Sharma had reportedly told staff that she was aware of the online rumours of Call of Duty being removed, and she would be discussing the issue at more length in subsequent weeks. So it does feel a little bit where there's smoke. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. If she's kind of she hasn't gone, nah, that's nonsense. I'm not even going to address it. Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that later. So it wouldn't make me sad to see it go, but as you know.
Well, the other thing on it is, has it been that much of a system seller or Game Pass seller? Maybe if you've got an Xbox, it might have nudged you towards it, but it's not possibly been a system seller. And if we're seeing sales potentially drop off, and look, we've not got the figures to hand, is it the market, or is it the kind of the not loss leader, but is it the Trojan horse that they were hoping it would be for their system?
Yeah, and it came at a bit of a time we had the perfect storm of Battlefield 6 launching at the same time, which obviously did the numbers and did incredibly well to great reception. So you do wonder how much that played into it as well. But yeah, be interested to see where that one goes. My final story is also it's a bit of a non-story, I suspect, but let's see where we go. And actually happily blends the story of GTA 6 and Xbox together in a harmonious way. And that was this morning. And a leaker had allegedly this is Jeff Grubb, who's normally a reliable insider, had basically said that Fable's been pushed out of this year to avoid GTA 6. Now, what's interesting about this is Microsoft immediately tried to get on the front foot and release a tweet this morning saying, welcome to Albion can't wait to meet you this autumn. So I now, are they just doing damage limitation and do intend to push this out slightly further? Because there was a big question about how much airtime it's actually going to get between the release of something like Forza from the same studio, Forza Playground Studios, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Coming, so that's the Forza Japan coming out very soon. I think it's in May.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And then GTA, which is, we'll assume, what was it, October now? I say assume, because you don't have to get the name
keep watch your space.
So how much airtime are you going to get between that and some of the bigger name games that are coming out between now and then to launch something like Fable? So a lot of the thought process was maybe this gets pushed back to actually a late year release, December. And actually, if you're going to do that, why wouldn't you just stick it in 27? God, time warp. We'll get to that. I do suspect this has become a bit of a non-story, but let's see what happens. I hope it doesn't, because I would much rather play Fable over GTA, but that's just me. Sorry, guys. Girls.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I like both games, so I would end up playing both. But you can't deny GTA has just got that pull, right? That lure for a lot of the gaming community. So
I'm going to say yes, it has. Having not finished, I think I finished one. I think I said to you, I think I finished the one with, what was his name? Marco Bellic? No, what was his name?
Nico.
Nico Bennett. Yeah, I think I finished 4. I think that was the only one I finished.
Okay. Well,
call yourself a gamer. Whatever. That was my news.
I'll be playing GTA 6 come the end of the year, so you can look forward to that.
I didn't say I wasn't a sheep, dude. I'm going to buy it and play it. I just won't finish it.
you just mumble and complain the whole way through it. It ain't no fable.
I'm old, mate. I'm old. Yeah. Right, what news you got for us, Mr. P?
Just a few quick stories. This one, on the face of it, isn't necessarily a massive one, but it's talking about Amazon Luna. So they're shaking up the way its streaming service is working. So maybe some of you don't even know about Luna, right? So the only reason I'm aware of it is because through Amazon Prime, you get a number of free games from there. Now, they don't just do it on their platform. They give away games from GOG, so Good Old Games, and Epic, as well as, weirdly, it was the Amazon Game Store.
Yes.
But they are changing that. So I think by the 10th of June, you're no longer going to be able to play the games you've got from those other catalogs within Luna. So, you can link your EA, your Ubisoft, your Good Old Games, and basically play them through Luna. So it's like your one-stop shop, right? So the full effect of it is a la carte game purchases will no longer be available. Previously purchased titles will remain playable through to the 10th of June, after which they'll be taken away. Bring your own library, no longer supported. Ubisoft and Jackbox game subscriptions sold through Luna are discontinued. New subscriptions no longer available for purchase. And third-party game stores are being removed from the Luna platform. So, just to be clear, you're not losing complete access to the games, but it means you'll no longer be able to stream them via your Luna account. So, on the, when you're looking at it, you say, right, okay, well, you're not losing the games, you just can't do it. But, we talked again recently a number of times about the whole digital landscape and going digital only, and these subscription services and licensing, etc. Any point in time, everything can change. So you can have the rug pulled out from under you. And look, I guess it makes sense for them in this occasion because they want to keep it to their system.
Yeah.
But, it's that you get accustomed to it, and this is a service I own, but they can say, right, tomorrow, soz, we're changing the way we run things now.
I can't with Amazon anymore. I just don't know where their head's at with this stuff. They make some really, that's probably unfair because a lot of these games companies, whether they're publishing houses, developers, they all seem to be making really stupid decisions, and they all seem to be a bit knee-jerk. They all seem to be market reacting to, oh my God, AI is costing a lot and we can't shift units, or we can't do this, we can't do that. So, where's the next big thing? And I guess that's just, we said it before, a lot of it's driven by corporate greed, right? So, now what we don't know is whether or not these publishing deals and things that they had with Ubisoft and people like that fell through because Ubisoft didn't want to do it anymore. There's no value for them there. They weren't getting sales. We've talked before about how they spent how many years trying to compete with Steam and no one even noticed.
Brilliant.
I anything game related from Amazon anymore just drops off my radar, to be honest.
If it's like a financial thing in terms of like the other companies up in the prices, that's one thing. But you think it probably does it work better because if people are using the Luna account because it is an all-in-one sort of one-stop shop, you're going to get to use the term. Surely you're going to get some passing trade. Whereas now you're saying, right, no, you GOGers and you Epic people go away.
It's man.
The only thing I will add, so if you are listening and you are one of the people that does do that, there is one possible wrinkle in this, is the saved games. So it says the bring your own library benefit has also been nuked. So you'll only be able to access that until the 3rd of June. You can download your saved data for 90 days from the 10th of June. However, and here's a quote, saved data compatibility varies by game and platform and is determined by the game publisher. We cannot guarantee that saved data downloaded from Luna will work on other gaming services. We recommend downloading your saved data as soon as possible and testing compatibility with your intended platform.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Next one, I think we've mentioned them, Bethesda, and we've certainly mentioned Rockstar, but this was an article It was just more that the headline got me thinking, and I thought this is a great talking point at some point. So this is from PC Gamer.
Mm-hmm.
And the title is Former Bethesda exec thinks the studio should get more respect for the complex open worlds it creates. Go try that shit in Red Dead Redemption 2. So this is Pete Hines, who retired 3 years ago. Now, ultimately, what he's saying is that Bethesda, and they get a lot of stick when their games release, extremely buggy, sort of janky. It's
We're not going to talk about Starfield 2 on the PlayStation, are we?
Well, we probably can do, because I'd love to talk about
you could play it.
Random things. We'd like to talk about Resident Evil Requiem, actually. But like they said, they're also tremendously complex at scale few others are willing to attempt. So it says, who else out in the world allows you to just stack up one quest after another on the fly while you're going wherever you want and whatever you want? Hines said,
Crimson Desert. Just that's the art. Sorry,
I had that in my mind.
Desert for 100.
I was going to come to you on that. Yes, he said, go try that shit in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Fuck
and
off,
look,
Pete.
I get what he's saying. Look, the worlds they offer are really big, really complex.
Yes, they are.
They are almost made to be broken. But that doesn't mean some of the effects, like, what was it? Was it Skyrim, where you had heads spinning around and stuff like that? And it's, there's a level of acceptability for bugs. But then when that there's going to be some bugs in it, but it's some of the basic broken stuff which they've been doing for a while. But you do have to almost agree with them. Look, I think Red Dead Redemption 2 may be an unfair target because that was also a massive game with a lot of things in it.
I think you know what you're getting with each of those things, right? With a Bethesda game, RPG, whether it's in space or whether it's in, I was going to say Elden Ring. My brain is full of that.
You love a Souls,
whether it's
right?
the Elder Scrolls, you know what you're getting essentially, and you are in for a bit of a bug fest, whereas people find and do things with these complex systems they've created. No doubt, absolutely get it, right? But you know what you're getting, and character models that all look the same. Just saying. With something like Red Dead Redemption 2, you are getting as close to, I guess, a living, breathing world, where those complex layered systems, weather systems, all have an impact on the world that you're in, but it is far more polished and probably far more curated for that reason, right? So and I get it, right? The quests are A to B to C to D. They're not dynamic. I think I can't remember the name we used that was used for them.
Radiant Quest.
Radiant Quest, which is something that you do clearly get. So I'm not. Yes, I was joking earlier. I don't fuck Pete. He's got a point, but I don't see the need to point to something else and go, well, go and try that shit. Because if I want to try that shit, I'll buy a Bethesda game because I know what I'm getting. I won't buy a Red Dead. I won't buy a Rockstar game because I know what I'm getting. They're two very different beasts. So it feels like a moot point to go, well, go and try that shit over there. Well, I don't need to. I've got Crimson Desert.
You can read into that. Is a person who's clearly, I think, upset by a lot of the criticism they get because he's probably care about the world and try to give the player a massive open world. I guess what we need to know is what our games rushed, even though they've taken years, and are the bugs you get in there bugs that shouldn't be in there or have come about from trying something overly ambitious.
You won't even have to worry about it next game because DLSS 5 or 6 by that point will fix it all for you. Oh, there's a bug there. AI has magically made it disappear, Dan. It's fine.
And one more story. I've got some good news, Dan. And
excellent.
Listeners.
What's the good news, Dan?
RAM prices are down 5% at the time of this article from PC Gamer.
Fucking A, man. Finally a break.
Yep, 5% down. However, there's some bad news to go with that.
What's the bad news?
They had risen by over 2,000%. So,
so they're 5% down on the 2,000% uplift.
Yes, you're only paying 1,995% more than you were.
Amazing. Thanks for that, Dan. My hope is restored in humanity.
I mean, to hopefully not get sort of like trademarked by a supermarket here. Every little helps, right?
Well, yeah, we should be thanking Sam Altman for crashing his deal for 40% of the world's RAM, I think. That's why it's dropped by 5%. Now we just need someone else to do less deals. Oh, fuck it. I can't even speak. So my words aren't wording either.
We've talked about Ramageddon, Rampocalypse, Ramrock for a long time. And I know over the last couple of weeks there have been stories about prices going up and down. I mean, look, I'll take any sign of it falling as a good sign. Yeah. Let's see where we're at in a week or two.
Couldn't agree more.
Do you just want to say about the Starfield story quickly on?
So, yes, Starfield launched, I think it was last weekend on the PlayStation, and across the board, both PlayStation and PlayStation Pro, has been described as a buggy mess, with a number of players basically saying it's unplayable because every time they try and land on a planet, the game crashes. And again, across the board. So this isn't system specific. So it's nothing to do with, PlayStation's fancy frame generation or anything like that. It's basically just, it's just a broken mess. So a number of people have been asking for refunds on it against and Bethesda are looking into it. I just feel it's a weird thing to do. Like you said earlier, how hard is it to test on a PlayStation?
Yeah, it's a closed system, right?
I've built the game. Did you test it? No, it'll be fine. It's the same as the Xbox.
You want us to play
it? I don't like playing Bethesda games. You're employed by Bethesda.
On a PC, I get weird. I get you've got all the configurations, but it feels weird on a console. Yeah.
Just odd that it's that broken. Almost as odd as that thing you sent me about Resident Evil Requiem.
Yeah. So very quickly, the story isn't. I've not got it up in front of me, but people with LG OLED TV specifically?
LG OLED, yeah. People, idiots like me. Yeah.
Well, finding when you fire the specific gun, is it the Requiem gun? The explosion on screen causes the TV to turn off.
Well, it's slightly worse. It's not turning off, which is what I said to you earlier. It turns off in a very specific way. No. It's making it power cycle. It's basically going, I can't deal with this, and then cycling the power back off and on. So. And what I noticed in another clip I saw of it was that was Kronos New Dawn. That wasn't even Resident Evil Requiem. So there was one you sent me was Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And then Kronos New Dawn is apparently doing it as well. So it's happening in multiple games. So there's a specific frequency of light that's causing the OLED to go into power cycle. And I hope not break it. So I've been playing Kronos before. I don't think I've got that far. And maybe you have to have a certain setting on there, or so, maybe your brightness at a certain peak or whatever. But yeah, I haven't tried it. But
we're now getting so developers have to test all sorts of PC configurations. They're now going to have to test console and TV monitors.
My God, I would suspect they already do that. I think they'd be mad not to do that. At least for some of the bigger brands, but clearly not for Kronos or Resident Evil Requiem. I thought we haven't done this, but I thought we'd do an ad today because the GCP boys are on a little bit. They're not releasing a couple of episodes. I thought we'd do a nice little ad for those guys today. What do you reckon?
Yeah, let's do it.
Screw it. Let's hear from the boys over at GCP.
Welcome to my friendly game club, where everyone is welcome. The podcast where we share, we play, we run and sing. Well, we don't run, but we do sing.
Hey kids, are you looking for a new favourite fortnightly video game review podcast?
And boy howdy have we got the show for you.
We take a different game every 2 weeks and we review them just like a book club.
You can find us on all good podcasting platforms.
And some of the sketchy ones too.
Simply search for the Game Club podcast and join the club today.
Just to be clear, it's the two blokes from Blighty. They've gone off on vacation. Well, they've not gone on vacation.
People, you should listen to all their episodes, whatever they are.
But yeah, if you listen to them, you'd know why they're not releasing an episode for a couple of months of two blokes.
Yeah.
So go listen to them.
Special. Go and listen to them. Go and listen to all this shit. It's brilliant. Right. Let's go on to the main thrust of today's episode. If you were paying attention at the beginning, you will know that today's episode is about the legend, the GOAT of consoles that is the PlayStation 2. I had one. You had one.
What a system.
Millions of other people had one. What a system, right, dude? So today I want to walk us through, in our usual way, a little bit about the inception. And yes, I will bring up the whole sordid Nintendo thing again. I want to talk a little bit about the launch, a little bit about the life cycle, and then a little bit about its legacy. How's that sound, Dan?
It sounds wonderful.
Let's get into it. Right. So the project, as many people may or may not know, was driven by an industry legend, he of Ken Kutaragi, who was originally an engineer. Now, I started digging into this story. So the story I'm referring to is the story of Sony committing to making a joint console along with Nintendo at the time. And then Nintendo jumped on stage and said, haha, we're not doing that. We're just going to team up with Philips. Screw you, Sony. However, when I dug into this story a little bit more, it was quite fascinating. So Ken Kutaragi was actually part of the engineering division at Sony. And he's now called the father of PlayStation because of everything he did. And we'll get to that in a second. But he actually became fascinated with the idea of video games when he was watching his daughter play a NES, a Famicom at that time. And he was fascinated by what video games could do. So he was recognized as being an amazing problem solver. And he actually, in a bit of a clandestine operation, so he didn't have any official knowledge from Sony around this or doing anything, he developed the SPC 700 sound processor for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. So he did this without Sony knowing about it.
Yeah.
And when they found out, they were going to fire him. They were basically going to fire. So this is one of those sliding doors moments, right? They were going to sack him. But it was the then president of Sony, Norio Oga, who basically recognized the potential of the gaming technology and basically protected him from being fired. So that relationship that he had cultured, that Ken Kutaragi had cultured, became the joint venture that then went on to, I'm not going to call it fail, but not succeed because Nintendo wanted that CD-ROM technology from Sony and then decided to disperse the partnership on stage without telling them.
Yeah.
So we know why, because Nintendo basically felt they were handing the keys to the gaming kingdom to Sony because they would have licensed all their products because they've had to for the drive, etc., and creating this super disc format for them. So but what that meant was basically Sony would have international rights to every single game and full control over music and film software because of the scale and size of what they were able to achieve. And that's why they dissolved the partnership without telling Sony, kindly, and turned up on stage and basically said they were going along with Philips instead. So what is also interesting, Kutaragi obviously refused to concede on this, and he is the one that convinced Oga, the president, to lean further into software development and to create their own console. So this is why he's kind of formally known as the father of the father of the PlayStation, because without him, and had he been fired for this creating this sound chip for what was at the time an amazing sound chip on the SNES, we wouldn't have had any of this.
I keep saying to you, don't I? Stories like this, I'm fascinated by stuff like this because it's like a proper what if moment, isn't it? I mean, you're going to fire the guy who's just come up with this, and what would we be playing now on what systems? It's incredible.
And so if the original PlayStation was kind of payback, it was like, well, we're going to get into the game now. The PS2 is often described as the long game revenge, the long-term revenge, because this is where Sony really started motoring. They created something, and they had ambition to stay in it to the point where they didn't just want that as a game console. They wanted to control the industry moving forward. They were really fueled by this rage at, still at Nintendo. So they invested over $1 billion of their own to build the semiconductor plants that manufactured the emotion chip, and the graphic synthesizer that went along with it. So, they actually pumped $1 billion, which I don't know if that's now numbers or if that's then numbers. If that's then numbers, that's insane.
It's
right?
crazy. It'll be crazy now, Right.
This is because that would have been from 91 onwards. So, through 7 year cycle. So they'd have been doing this up to 97. So, to invest that sort of money in those days is kind of insane. So invested a lot of their own money to get this thing right. They created the emotion engine. It's a bit of a weird one, the emotion engine. I don't quite know. I think it's very much a marketing ploy to call it something like that, to get people.
Buzzword, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah. But it was not, the point of the process was not just to be better at graphics, but it was to provide like the level of computational power that they needed for really complex physical simulations. So And that's why the emotion chip, because so it was to basically render the synthesis of emotions within a virtual environment. So it was trying to be indicative of the fact that, you know, they were trying to do something a bit special. And for its time, I'm not going to run the numbers. I've got kind of the numbers and functions of this chip. It was insane, right? Like for a chip of its type at the time, it was a 64-bit R5 900 chip CPU that clocked in at 294 megahertz. It was like, ignore the numbers, but it was super powerful for its time, like comparative in terms of, you know, home PCs and from performance. So it was, you know, they really did go above and beyond to design this architecture. Now, past the emotion chip, the other thing they did, which was an absolute stroke of genius, was they wanted to make sure there was a catalogue of games available at launch. But, and I'll come on to this in a minute, coding for the emotion chip was a bitch, right? It was super hard. But to ensure they had a catalogue of games available at the time, they just went, do you know what? Let's just stick a PlayStation 1 processor in the machine so we can play all our games natively.
Backwards compatibility.
Right, but to literally put the chip of the old machine inside the new machine to make sure you kids, it's just it's genius. Like total genius.
And it's really valid because we've also said before a couple of consoles that launched with a very lackluster launch lineup, and it matters, right? Because there's nothing worse than being an excitable young kid, getting your shiny new toy, but you can't play anything on it.
Totally that. It's mad. It's just, the whole marketing around it and stuff. But to be able to have, you know, to be able to market and go, but you can play all the old catalogue you built up. Yeah. It's just a stroke of genius. Yeah. It's the thing you want. And even to this day, you know, whenever we start hearing about new consoles, and I know it matters less and less because of the shift towards PCs and things like that. But even, you know, you think back the last couple of generations of launches, people have been going, but can I play my old stuff? Because that's really what I want. And, you know, a lot of the time it's, but it'll be emulated, or but it'll be this. There'll be concessions that have been in place. You know, I think it's only Microsoft, could be wrong, don't shoot me, who really gone after I want to make sure that it all works. And even then, it doesn't all work, right? There are some games missing that you and I both love that you can't get on there. It was marketed as 128-bit, which was a complete myth. So they famously marketed as 128-bit, but technically that was because the Emotion Engine had 128-bit registers. But as an industry as a whole, moved away from bits because it wasn't actually a decent performance metric. It was just a buzzword they were using, and it didn't actually mean anything. So they stopped using it. But they were like, no, it's definitely 128-bit. It's not 128-bit.
I love buzzwords. Maybe there's an episode on that, all the buzzwords in gaming.
Oh, I think so. But not without its problems, though. So early PS2 games came on. I remember these. I don't know if you remember these. They were, the CD-ROMs had a blue shine to them. Yeah. So they weren't silver, they had the blue on them. So they were notorious for being particularly loud in the console. And they were the first games to stop working because the laser would weaken them. Nice. And they, when the laser weakened in units later on, they weren't able to read bounce light off of the blue disc as possible. So, absolute. You know, we had other problems, by the way, with the PlayStation 2. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but we will cover a couple of them.
I was going to say, because I don't remember the PlayStation 2 as being a problematic console. So I'll look forward to hearing that.
It did have I can't remember, it's the red screen of death, I think. And I don't know if I've included it in my notes, but if I have, I will find it. Let's talk a little bit about the launch of this thing. So this kind of, you know, how it came to market, how they designed it, how they built it. And I will talk in the launch, I'll talk a bit about the design of the thing. In fact, let's talk about the design now. So the design of it was very much a departure, as you'll know, from the original much loved original PlayStation design, that kind of grey box with a big circle on top of this. So this was a design that looked for something more architectural and futuristic, and something that would command attention in your living room when it was placed next to a TV or a VHS player. So what you ended up with was this very sleek, matte black towel with the very sharp edges, and it was and you could have it standing up, Dan. You could, if you
stresses
wanted
me
it.
out. I'm looking at a picture of it standing up, and it stresses me out.
You're not a standing up person.
I'm not a standing up person.
Yeah,
no.
you don't like your consoles erect, do you?
No.
And this was erect. Now, what's interesting about this, and another fascinating footnote that I know you're going to love. Right, so the origin of that case design, that iconic look of the PlayStation 2, actually sits in the early 1990s. Right, so Atari had prototyped a high-end computer known as the Falcon 030 Microbox. Right, and the Microbox featured a vertically orientated black, or in some pictures, a grey or white case with horizontal ridges. So they basically, Atari shifted away from that design, and it eventually came out with the Jaguar console, right?
Yeah.
But Sony acquired a bunch of design rights from Atari when they started facing bankruptcy.
Okay.
And in those design rights was the design for the Atari Falcon 030,
Okay.
the Microbox.
Yeah.
And that was used as a reference point. And I'll try and I'll get images and show you, because when you put them side by side, they are hauntingly similar.
See,
It's mad.
See, what I want to say about the look of it is, I'm glad you kind of said that it is like a departure from previous, because to me, so someone who grew up Commodore 64, a big grey box, the Commodore Amiga, the one I had, big grey box, PCs at the time, like late 90s, were big, ugly sort of boxes. Even the original PlayStation, look, I'm not saying it's not an iconic look and that it was sleek, but it was still a white and a bit purple box. I think the Mega Drives, etc., are very big and plasticky.
Yeah.
The PS2 come out and it was sleek and it was nice. I mean, I'm looking at it now and I just remember it, and it's so nice to look at. The buttons themselves on it, like the power button, eject button, are really small, minimal, sort of not in your face.
And that was absolutely intentional.
Yeah,
because it was designed to look like a piece of hi-fi equipment. It was a beautiful thing. I don't know if it almost goes as far as to say, I don't know if the world was ready for it when it came out and they announced it, and that people were like, "Holy shit!"
Do you know the funny thing as well? So I'm having a look at the picture of it it's actually on Wikipedia, and we talk about having it sort of vertical or horizontal.
Yeah,
I don't think a lot of people knew at the time, but the actual little PlayStation symbol can spin around. Yes,
I had that as a little interesting fact. You knew that. No, it's fine. It's fine. An interesting fact was it was designed to be, the logo was designed to be revolved so that you could have it horizontal.
I don't think many people knew at the time.
Now people are going to be out there buying them on eBay just to see if that was true.
If you twiddled your PlayStation logo, let us know. Yeah.
So yes, you're absolutely right though. From a design perspective, it was meant to look like a piece of high-end home theatre equipment. That was the absolute intent. It was to move away, and we've spoken about this before. You've spoken about it certainly, about moving away from not being a toy, right? Being an upscale piece of technology,
an
that you
entertainment system, or
an entertainment system that's sat next to it. Now, the genius stroke of this, right? Remember, at this point in time, so in the 2000s, DVD players were still luxury items, right? So not the ones you got off the bat and you remember like location hacking or hacking, so you could play region unlocking, right? Yeah. I'm talking about the full on DVDs when they first launched, cost them between $500 and $1,000, right? They were right. The PlayStation 2 was priced at $299 or £299, so it was the cheapest high quality DVD player on the market. Right, so you weren't just buying a machine that played games like every other system you'd bought. You could now have a DVD player in your home.
So that's the excuse. It's like I'm seeing people now put on social media. The wife isn't happy with the new phone charger I've got, and it's a PlayStation 5 that they plug their phone into.
Exactly. But those are memes now. That was serious intent. Their intent was to go, here's a really moderately priced DVD player, but you also get a gaming machine with it.
And coming from
was almost
Sony,
their strategy.
right? Sony,
exactly.
You've got that confidence, right, in the branding.
Exactly that, Dan. Exactly that. It was one of those things that was just insane that they kind of went, oh, here's a DVD player, but yours a games machine. We think about it now. You're like, no, it was a games machine and I had a DVD player.
Yeah.
That's not what they wanted. They wanted to get that machine in, and then people go, oh, I could probably play Bridge Race on this. Let me see if that, it's genius.
It's insane to think. And look, and now because most people are moving away from physical, DVD players are probably expensive again now, but it's crazy to think because at the time, well, for a period of time, you could get DVD players for like 15 quid, couldn't you? So the fact that a PS2 was a cheaper or a more economical option to get, I mean, you wouldn't get many people complaining, but yeah.
This is it. It was also one of the first times a company had stepped in and done what we now know is pretty standard practice, which is the razor and blades business model, which is to sell your hardware at a loss to ensure you've got that market saturation. And they were one of the first companies to do it. And many families purchased it primarily as a DVD player because everyone was after the DVD technology. So it was mad.
And we forget for a while, even on like the PSPs, etc.
Yeah.
Watching films, like watching DVDs on consoles was a massive thing. I'd forgotten, you did do it. You did do it out of course. So yeah.
Yeah. Just a bit on that price. So in Japan, they launched at 39,800, right? Which, yen, which was still, comparative to UK and US prices. So, but DVD players significantly more. The mass adoption of the PlayStation 2 in Japan forced a reduction of DVD players, which then dropped to an average price of 20,000 yen. Okay. So DVD players just for, and we'll remember seeing the after effects of this. So when this happened and manufacturing, they manufactured all these DVD players, and that is when you started getting the cheaper units back in the UK, the ones with the region locking and stuff like that, because of that, because the PlayStation 2 launched and forced them to drop the prices and the
influences.
It's mad.
Yeah.
It's absolutely mad. Now, the reason, just very finally on DVDs, the reason they aggressively pushed this was because of their historic failure with Betamax.
Yeah.
Right? So you had Sony Betamax and you had VHS, and they'd failed in that war. They'd gone, right. But now they wanted to back the winning horse. So they were like, we're just going after DVD and we're just going to make sure it happens. Yeah. So it's quite fascinating.
Betamax, that makes me laugh. So for the younger listeners, so yeah, VHS is probably something you've got to explain. You used to have something called videotapes, but yeah, Betamax was a competitor that didn't last long. And I just laughing because previous guest of ours, Ian Lee, I think he said basically whatever his family got felt like it was going to get the wrong one. And I think his family had a Betamax because it was the new thing. Yeah. They were massive, weren't they? I think Betamax, the tapes. They were big. I still remember days when Blockbuster Video had both in a store. That's how old I am. I can remember them stocking both VHS and Betamax. Sorry, I'm getting really nostalgic on this because, and sorry, I will let you get back on point. But do you know what I think we missed? Because we did watch a lot of DVDs, and the thing that comes with physical is some of the hidden things. Like I think we've said before, like the hidden menus and the Easter eggs on DVDs, even music CDs, if you put them in your PC, there used to often be hidden stuff on that.
Yeah.
Like games. And we've kind of lost the art of surprise because of the way we're doing it. But sorry, that's not PlayStation 2.
No. So, how did the launch go? Well,
I guess it went well.
It was kind of game of two halves. So it sold, in 24 hours in Japan alone, it sold 980,000 units.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot of PlayStation 2s.
Yeah,
in 24 hours, right? However, it was also a little bit of chaos. And one of the first, if not the first, major scalping event in internet history.
Okay.
Particularly down to our old friend eBay. Units were selling for between $1,000 and $1,500.
Wow.
So that's nearly 5 times the retail price.
Okay.
So shortage. You couldn't get hold of one, right? We think it's tough nowadays. It was proper hard. Not helped, in fact, by the Suez Canal incident, which happened. So back just shortly after the launch, a Russian oil tanker got stuck in the Suez Canal. Now this happened very recently, God, a few years ago, right? Something similar happened.
Yeah.
And I know because the business I work for runs through those shipping lanes and we got stuck with a load of product couldn't ship. But it basically blocked ships carrying tens of thousands of PS2 units. So that meant there was genuinely, in Christmas 2000, a national crisis for getting older PlayStation 2s in the UK. Kids were, waking up in tears and, getting just insane. It was, not happy. There's one anecdote about, so in America, in North America, there were midnight releases and mad dashes, as there always are with all these things. So customers waiting in line for 24 hours for things. But there's an account from a Sears store in a shopping mall, and it was basically the whole place was described as a ghost town with only 5 people in line because everyone is at Best Buy trying to buy the PlayStation 2. And in some instances, employees were reported to have laughed as adults and teens knocked over displays in a desperate scramble to secure one of the limited units available. Do you remember that Arnie film?
Yo,
about the
Jingle
Christmas,
All the Way. I love that.
Jingle All the Way. It's basically Jingle All the Way with PlayStation 2s. Oh, it's just fascinating.
It just shows, though, the impact, then the cultural impact, though, that the original PlayStation had, though, right? It's
totally.
It's incredible. I mean, it's almost a million.
And it was just fed on from that, right? Yeah. And the fact that you had this Suez Canal incident, so it basically, created this even more demand, the black market, the scams. At 1 week in November 2000, so during this incident, sales dropped to only 6,000 units in a week because there were just no units available. Previous weeks had seen sales of 70,000 units. So they just weren't any, there wasn't any in stock. And the contemporary media described it as guaranteed to cause more tears on Christmas Day than Bambi. That was how they described it. So not an incredible auspicious launch for some reason, some out of their hands, some, not so much. So it's, you had a PlayStation 2, right?
Yeah, I did. So it was a very generous gift from my wife, who at the time was obviously my girlfriend, but from her brother. He bought me a PS2 along with GTA 3.
Wow. And we're going to come on to that game. Yeah. We're going to talk a bit about that.
And just having that blew me away because, as I said, I'd had the PlayStation 1. Then it was so I would have got it around 2002, 2003. I can't remember exactly because I didn't buy it. I can't find the record. And obviously I went to look through my Amazon history, but then I got most of my stuff from, do you remember Play.com?
I do remember Play.com. Yeah.
One of the first games I saw was the iToy from Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
But because Play.com, especially in the UK, was such a great website for getting stuff. So I think I got it around, end of 2002, 2003. And before that, I think because we'd moved into a house together in 2001, I think I'd got rid of a lot of stuff to sell things, make a bit, get a bit of money. So I hadn't really games for a while. And getting that and playing GTA 3, it just blew me away. Really did. Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah.
I think I was quite late to the party with the PlayStation 2 as well. I think I got mine quite late in the day, probably around the same time actually. So I didn't have any of the issues with stock and things like that because by that time it would have died down completely. But so I wasn't there at launch for the PlayStation 2. I think I was still firmly. It was around the time of the Xbox, wasn't it? So the original Xbox would have been similar time.
And that's the thing, because I wasn't even expecting it. It was kind of like I'd not really, I guess I wasn't, for a period of time, I wasn't really into the gaming scene because, again, moving, getting a first house, etc. So then just to get that, him turn up on my doorstep and say, here you go. And it's like,
man, what a legend that guy is. Yeah, I mean, what a generous gift. Yeah, mad. And the machine, so let's just talk a little about the launch. So launched on March 4th, 2000 in Japan. So it was way ahead compared to today's releases. We talk about global launches. It was way ahead of the US, which wasn't until October 26th in 2000, and even later for Europe and us, it was November the 24th, 2000. Now, whilst it launched against the Xbox and was seen as a powerhouse in some ways compared to that machine, technically superior. The original software lineup could very much be criticized because it didn't fully utilize the power that the PlayStation 2 had. So you had early titles like Ridge Racer 4, Tekken Tag Tournament. They were, there wasn't any anti-aliasing, so it looked a bit horrible and jagged, around it and quite shimmery. So it only launched with 11 games in Japan. And among those were Ridge Racer 4 and Street Mahjong. And then another couple of Japanese games. So very small, but obviously shored up by the fact you had the PlayStation back catalogue on there, the original PlayStation back catalogue that you could still stick your games in and play. Plus the fact that it was, sold originally not as a DVD player, but that was one of the benefits that people were clearly buying it for that. And you're riding on the crest of the success of the PlayStation 1. So all of these factors kind of played into this monumental launch. North America slightly better, so 29 launch games. So Madden NFL, SSX was a massive launch title for them. Tekken Tag Tournament and Time Splitters. And then in Europe, we had all of those plus FIFA 2001, Theme Park World, Silent Scope, which I played the other day.
You did, yes.
At the arcade.
Yeah.
And Ridge Racer 5. So you had quite a big launch to the point where for North America, it was seen as, an insane number compared to previously, the original, which you had kind of the original PlayStation and there's a Super NES. So quite insane that you had, quite a large, but one of the standouts was, SSX, EA's SSX. I think because it managed to cross that line between, the hardcore football fan, like Madden fans.
Yeah.
And people who weren't that into sports, but actually you had, and if you haven't played SSX, my God, go pick that game up because I wasted so much of my life playing that game. It's insane.
Well, the thing about the PlayStation 2 was it had such, and I won't go into them because I'm sure you got some, but I'm just looking at like the list of games that have sold over 1 million copies, and there's 167 games on this list. And just looking down on it, and I know, look, they're not all exclusive. Some of them would have been played elsewhere, but my God, the games we had on there is just encompasses so many classic games and great games, and I think because and look, it was introduced. It's always been a thing, even from the Commodore 64. But you got then your budget range, which I can't remember if it was platinum or what for the PlayStation.
It was platinum. Pretty sure it was platinum.
But you just tried your luck because they were always, you felt like you were always getting really good games on the system, and you try something a little different. Yeah, totally.
I mean, it was, we'll just talk a little bit, skip forward a year, because in late 2001, you had what's always been described as the holy trinity of third-party exclusives launching on the PlayStation 2, and that was Grand Theft Auto 3, Final Fantasy X, and Metal Gear Solid 2. Sons of Liberty.
I mean, those games.
I mean, what a time to be alive, right? I mean, so that was really when it came into its own. The machine was an absolute beast. However, the machine was also a beast in more ways than one. So I mentioned it earlier. Mastering the Emotion Engine was an absolute bitch. It was horrendous to program for, right? So basically, this was part of Sony's philosophy, which was that if developers could maximize the console output, the quality in the first 6 months, it wouldn't have legs. So the tail on it would die. And therefore, what was the point? Because then you'd have to go into a new cycle of generation of consoles very, very quickly. So it was actually part of their philosophy to make it more complex. Part of the problem was developers were forced to work in MIPS, MIPS, assembly language, and manage the data flow between the CPU and the vector units, the output for the GPU, for the graphics. So what's often described as developers as that was a square peg round hole problem. So really simple tasks, right? Take something like rendering a triangle, could take a team over a month, right? Because of the complex chain of routing chain they had to go through. So there was no easy API. There was no easy pixel shaders. Everything had to be custom coded for this machine. So that machine at the time had the biggest variance of any console to date of the difference between something really crap and something looking absolutely spectacular because of those issues.
Right.
So, and this is why late generation games, because of that level of complexity and understanding and getting used to how to code it, that's why games like God of War 2, like a night and day from something released earlier in the console's life cycle.
But it feels
because it took them nearly a decade to get used to it.
But it feels like that's something that's always been said about the PS2, the PS3, and the PS4. It feels like it's always something that's been kind of leveled at Sony, hasn't it?
I think it's always been true. I think, Mark Cerny's obviously been heavily involved in certainly the PS4, PS5. I'm assuming he was probably quite heavily involved before that. I'm assuming he's a lifer at Sony, and he's always been heavy on that, bespoke architecture, building it. And maybe that philosophy still stands for them. If I do something simple that people are going to do and find it easy to get squeeze the most juice out of, then what's the point? Because they'll just, because I think that you're right. It always seems to have happened with Sony in particular. Games that start in that generation look very, not different, but look very
you always hear
last generation
to code for. It was difficult to code for until the generation went on. And look, and that's not a bad thing, because what it meant is you're getting bangers right up until the end, right? If anything, you're getting more out of it towards the end.
And look at the bleed through from that, right? You quite often get those games that cross generations. Spider-Man, Last of Us 2, all these games are kind of cross generational. And look, all right, yes, they look at a jump on the next gen, the PS5, but is the difference that vast because of the quality that's come out of the previous generation? It's mad, isn't it? So, how was it marketed? Do you remember who they got to do a bunch of their adverts?
No. Was it
specifically the third place? No.
Because it's normally going to be like a musician, wasn't it? They normally get like an actor.
No, I'm talking about directing the commercials, but it was actually David Lynch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so David Lynch did some advertising for them, and I don't know if you remember the third place campaign. It was like the console became this portal to a dreamlike, weird world and surreal reality. Yeah, so they hired him to produce a series of commercials aimed at sophisticated early technology adopters. That was their position, right? This is who we want to appeal to. So I had an actor walking through a bunch of surreal corridors. I'll try and find some footage.
I've seen some pictures I don't recognise them, but then I wasn't in the market when they released it.
Right. Yeah. So you had the Duckman. Is that one? Some of the ones you're looking about?
I don't know what I'm looking at. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, there was a scene where the protagonist's head detached and he vomits up an arm. It was all a bit weird, right? So it was part of a larger $20 million campaign that they did. But Sony quite famously changed what was supposed to be colour footage to black and white to make it feel more like David Lynch's style.
Terrifying.
He was pissed. He was not happy that they changed. Yeah, he shot all this stuff in colour and, but you're right. The goal was to evoke excited fear and position the PlayStation 2 as an additional sensory experience beyond just home and work.
But we've mentioned this before in another episode, haven't we? That there's always been with video games and advertising and marketing, there's been a fine line between kind of what you'd normally expect and the surreal, right?
Totally. And that's what they were going for, that clearly, that edgy, mature, that aesthetic that was a very sharp contrast to Nintendo's really family-friendly, stilted maybe for some people, and wanted to capture that demographic that again, we spoke about with Ian Lee about, PlayStations being in clubs and Wipeout and things like that, that 18 to 30 demographic. However, in some territories, just as a final point of this bit, the marketing was even more aggressive. In India, there was a slogan that was used until it was banned. Can you guess what that slogan might have been?
Don't want to guess.
The slogan was basically PlayStation 2 because your girlfriend bores you shitless. That was a legit marketing slogan used by Sony in India until it was banned. Don't know how long it took to get banned. Doesn't tell me. Mad, right? Mad.
It's like so sure something got lost in translation there, is it?
And something definitely got, So, now I'm going to talk a bit about myths and legends just very quickly. You may have heard this. I don't know. I certainly heard this, that because the processing power that we spoke about the PlayStation 2 was so formidable at the time, that it birthed some geopolitical myths, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For where it had been applied for use.
Yeah.
So in the late 2000s, there were reports surfaced that the then Iraqi leader, Saddam Hussein, was importing 4,000 PlayStation 2 units, right? And this myth alleged that he intended to link them to a supercomputer to bypass UN sanctions, which they had on the country at the time, and allow him to develop a missile guidance system or manage drones. So it was eventually debunked as nonsense without any rumor and reality. And I distinctly remember this rumor. It's crazy how you kind of go, oh, shit, I remember that happening. But it was fueled by the fact that the Japanese government did place export controls on the PlayStation 2 because it could perform at high speed, like image analysis, trajectory calculations. So it could potentially become a dual use technology. Sony were legally prohibited from exporting to countries like Iraq, Iran, North Korea without specific special permission.
Okay.
So it's not entirely absurd that could have happened, because for its scale at the time and being able to link them together, it offered more raw mathematical power and compute than many high-end PCs of that era.
Well, especially in this country, we love a wild tabloid headline, don't we? And it's like, totally. That was the fear then, and now they'd be buying it to strip it for RAM. So.
Right. However, it is not entirely fanciful that this thing happened. Right. So it wasn't done by Saddam Hussein, but in 2003, the National Center for Supercomputing Applications, the NCSA, in America at the University of Illinois, assembled a handmade supercomputer out of 70 PlayStation 2 units. So it only cost them 50 grand, right? And it utilized, so Sony actually sold a separate Sony Linux kit that allowed programmers direct access to the vector units of the machine. So that allowed them to perform these complex calculations. That system was capable of 500 billion operations a second, so 0.5 teraflops a second. And it ranked in the top 500 supercomputers at the time. 50 little old PlayStation 2s ranked in the top 500 supercomputers at the time.
It's like, when you see those films, like crime films where they're saying, and I think it's in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, isn't it? It's like, no, don't buy all your fertilizer from one place, or don't buy all the fertilizer around it. Yeah. It's like, imagine someone walks in and say, I'll have 70 PlayStation 2, please.
Yeah, exactly. What do you want them for? Building a supercomputer.
A LAN party.
But this is the thing. But it actually reached its zenith in 2010, and people might remember this one, where the US Air Force built what was now called the Condor cluster using 1,760 PlayStation 3s.
Well,
so it continued.
There's been an intrinsic link, whether it's fanciful or real, throughout time about military and government and computer. Like this week as well, I think they're saying in America they're trying to encourage people to be like air traffic controllers through video games or something. And I think they've used an Xbox.
That as well. Yeah, I saw that article. Yeah,
and we've seen the ROG Ally is used for flying drones at the moment in certain areas, and it's like there seems to have always been, and now with technology just continually advancing. And up until this year, it was fairly cheap in terms of relative, but now we're going the other way. It's incredible to think about basically what you just said there. Yeah.
It's mad. Absolutely mad. So let's talk about market dominance. So how much of the share do you think the PlayStation 2 had? Bearing in mind you had the PlayStation and the GameCube. The Xbox and the GameCube at the time as well. So how much market share do you think the PlayStation 2 held at its peak?
So the Xbox did quite well, but at its peak, I'm going to say it had around 65%.
You're close. 75% of the global market. 3/4 of the global market share.
Jeez.
Just massive.
Yeah.
We've talked before about attachment rates of games and things like that. And, Microsoft did really, really well with the 360 at the time. Yeah. But to own 75% of the global market share with one console is insane.
Yeah. Just think so. Like 3 and 4 houses, say, would have had.
Right. 3 or 4 console owners would have been a PlayStation 2.
Yeah,
which
incredible.
is mad. And you wonder, we go, why did Xbox lose that?
Yeah.
Well, they were riding on that crest of PlayStation. They had the backwards compatibility. They had a ready-made DVD player. They had, great games when they could eventually code for them.
Yeah. That's the thing. I and again, I'll say again, and I know some of these were available on Xbox, but just have a look at that PlayStation catalog. Remind yourself what came out.
Yeah.
Superb.
Now, did you know about the digital graveyard of the loading screen of the PlayStation 2?
No, because intentionally I've not got your notes up, so I don't know. No.
So those towers that you see in the loading screen, I'll pop a screen up, were actually dynamic. So they were a visual representation of your memory card. You remember your little memory card thing?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right. So what it did, if you had lots of save files,
right,
the screen was crowded with lots of towers.
Okay, I'm looking at some pictures.
But if you played the game for a long time, that tower would be taller.
Nice. Okay.
So it was actually a representation of your video gaming history. And just thrown in as a little Easter egg. Didn't specifically talk about it, didn't say anything about it, but it was there.
But I'm looking at the picture now to remind myself. Yeah, and the thing is, Sony have always had a bit of a history of messing around with your memory cards as well, right? Metal Gear Solid.
Totally.
Yeah.
No, I love that game.
Yeah.
I love that. It's just so good.
Yeah.
We talked a bit about, how the architecture was so complex, developers hated it. But it did it did the business. I said before, if you didn't get your head around the whole vector units thing, you basically were coding a PS1 game. That was the problem. I think some people have called it the hard mode for developers. Like the Dark Souls for developers. That's what it was. Because the Xbox, we've said it before, the Xbox was basically a PC, right? So it was easy. People were familiar with it. They did release a Linux kit, as I said earlier. So it came with a 40 gig hard drive and a VGA adapter and keyboard, so you could turn your PS2 into a desktop PC if you wanted to. So you could buy that. That was to avoid higher taxes in Europe because computers had lower tariffs than toys, so it was seen as a toy. But if you turn it into a computer, it paid cheaper on tariffs. I won't explain how tariffs work because we clearly know how tariffs work. So before, and I'll talk a little bit about iterations in a second, before the slim model, you had to actually buy a separate network adapter that screwed into the back.
Remember that.
Now, what you don't know, or I didn't know until I read this, was inside that was, if you take that off, was a standard IDE interface that would just allow you to hook up a standard PC hard drive to load games instantly. And that led to the birth of the homebrew scene.
Right, okay.
Literally just someone taking the panel off and going, I've seen one of those connectors before. It's just the same as I've got on my hard drive.
I thought you meant it was an extra bit. Right, okay. So they took
no, literally on the back of the PlayStation. Right, if you just take the panel, you just stick in a network adapter and take off the network. They just stick in an IDE. You can stick in a hard drive and just literally boot. So mad. Right, I love these little things.
It's crazy what we did have, like the Wi-Fi dongles that we had to put on the Xbox as well. And now we take everything for granted. What's in there now? Yeah,
everything. Yeah. Right, everything. It's mad. So in 2004, Sony did indeed release a slimline revision. So the slimline PS2, it was quite a significant overhaul. So it was much smaller, thinner, quieter than what are now called the fat models. It integrated the network into it, so you had the Ethernet port, and in some markets even a modem built into the actual console, which was quite a thing as well for the time. Unlike today when they released Slimline or S models, it was actually slightly more powerful than the original PlayStation 2. So the motion engine clocked in slightly higher in terms of what it was capable of doing. And then the last major revision, which incorporated the power supply into the back of the unit, which increased the weight, but meant you didn't have to have a brick with it, was in 2007.
Do you know what? That is such a good point, because do you remember the bricks you used to have with the consoles? They were horrible, weren't they? They took up so much space. And my word, I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, didn't need it. Didn't need it in 2007 for the final revision of the PlayStation too. So, and they also introduced, which would be familiar to people now, and particularly me, as I recently sold my PS4 Pro, and every bugger on eBay was going, "What BIOS revision is it?" Because they wanted the one that hadn't been patched, so they could actually homebrew and exploit the thing. So they patched that out in that revision. They had a couple of interesting variants. So they had a PSX variant in 2003. So it was a high-end, it had a DVR in it, so you could play PlayStation 2 games and include a built-in hard drive with 250 gig, but it didn't release outside of Japan. And then you had I vaguely remember this, but the Bravia KDL, which is a 22-inch Sony Bravia television with a fully functional PlayStation 2 built into the base of it.
See, I don't remember that. That's
have a
special.
Look. Yeah, have a look. It's still very much a collector's item. But yeah, so you had it's the KDL 22PX 300. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So quite. Quite cool term.
It's literally
a TV with a PlayStation bolted onto it.
If you looked at it, you'd think it was a stand for it, wouldn't you? Yeah.
It's mad. Some of the insane things people do.
Yeah.
So, 13 years that thing reigned for.
Wow.
Which is just massive, right? So we're getting to talking about the legacy. We're at time. So it was the last man standing. It outlived the Dreamcast, the GameCube, and the Xbox. It remained in production for 13 years, and production finally ended in January 2013, just months after the PS4 was announced. So Sony have a habit of doing this, right? Their life cycles retain. Yeah. We've talked before about PlayStation 4 ownership versus 5. I'm sure that's changed now, but the very last games released for the console were FIFA 14 and Pro Evolution Soccer 14. So it had huge popularity in South America and Europe long after the PlayStation 3 had arrived. So it helped transition the scene from being, a kids' hobby and, kids playing on machines to really a more adult-driven, disposable income people who were kind of buying these things. So when the successor arrives, most consoles die. We know that they certainly used to, drop off. The PlayStation 2 was so popular in Brazil and Southeast Asia that FIFA 14 was released on it. So that was it would have been not 14, it would have been 15 or 16, but it was the same year that the PS4 launched. They launched that version of FIFA on the PlayStation 2.
I remember they were that, and even like for the PS4, but I remember they were releasing the games for a long time after.
Yeah, it's mad.
And sports games, on the PlayStation, I always remember. I mean, the FIFA games plus Raging Rich from the middle-aged podcast will appreciate this, but like the wrestling games that used to get on the PlayStation 2 as well. They had some iconic wrestling games then as well. So yeah, I know you love your wrestling. So.
As much as football. So it had a bit of a scare. So any collectors of the PS2 out there, so it uses a CMOS battery, like a lot of them do, to keep time. Yeah, if that dies, it won't boot. So you might be a little bit out of luck. It's literally the heart of the machine that just stops beating and needs replacing. So good luck doing that. The final kind of, I got a few other little bits, but the final fact is the mic drop that Jim Ryan performed as he was leaving and walking out the door of Sony. So Jim Ryan was the former PlayStation CEO that left 2 years ago. He corrected the record of the PlayStation 2 sales from 155 million to 160 million at the time, because it was behind the Switch and DS, and now tops the total sales at 160 million units sold worldwide. As I said, 75% of the home console market, it tripled the combined sale of its competitors. How many titles do you think it had in total over its longevity?
Haven't got a clue. Haven't got a clue.
4,000 unique titles with a total of 1.54 billion copies of games being sold.
Wow, that's incredible, isn't it? All those games flying around.
It's insane, right? It's absolutely insane. So The PlayStation 2 sold 160,000 units. The Xbox, 160 million units. The Xbox, 24 million. The GameCube, 21.74, and the Dreamcast, 9.14. So, as I said, they officially ended production around about January 2012. It's probably earlier in Japan, but stopped selling in Japan in December and January in the rest of the world. But remained relevant. So, as I said, there were still games being on it just before the PlayStation 4 launched, in fact. It outlived the Dreamcast by 12 years. Go on, mate.
Sorry, I was going to say, so it came out in 2000, finished in 2012.
Late 2012 in Japan, early 2013 in worldwide.
When I say 2013, so that's 13 years. So in the last 13 years, we've had a PlayStation 3, 4, and 5.
Yes.
And we had the PlayStation 2 for that length of time. Wow.
Man.
Yeah.
Outlived the Dreamcast by 12 years and remained in production for 7 years alongside the PlayStation 3. So stayed in production for the longevity of the PlayStation 3's life cycle. But repair services in Japan through Sony didn't officially close until 2018, 19 years after it launched.
Wow. That's great.
The only reason? They were running out of parts.
I was literally going to say, because that could be the only reason.
The only reason they were running out of parts, which is madness, right?
Fair play to them for keeping it going that long as well. Yeah.
It's absolutely bonkers. Just the scale of what they achieved with that machine is I find it mind blowing.
Yeah.
So I'll very, very quickly, before I just do the wrap up, top selling games, Dan. We've talked about them many times on this podcast. What do you think they were? What do you think the top? Let's go for. Go on.
Well, I think
I've got the top 10.
I've seen some, but I've not got it on the screen now, unfortunately. Well, GTA 3 would have to be up there.
San Andreas.
Okay, I was going to say San Andreas next. I would say
no. San Andreas is top. 17.33 million units sold.
Okay, is GTA 3
hot coffee?
Is GTA 3 not in the top 10?
GTA 3 is at number 5, 11.6 million copies.
There has to be a Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy 10, in fact, at 8 million copies at number 7. And 12 at number 9 at 6 million copies.
Okay, is there a Metal Gear Solid?
There is Sons of Liberty, at number 8.
And then the only other one I can think of, because I like them on the system, would be a Gran Turismo of a number.
So you've got Grand Theft Auto San Andreas at 17.3 million at number 1. At number 2 is Gran Turismo 3 A spec with 14.9 million. You've then got Grand Theft Auto Vice City of 14.2.
Yeah.
Gran Turismo 4 at number 4, 11. I found that top of the pot. And at number 5, Grand Theft Auto 3 with 11.6. Tekken 5 at 6 with 8.2. Final Fantasy 10, 8.0 at number 7. Number 8 is Metal Gear Solid Sons of Liberty at 7 with 7 million copies. Final Fantasy 12 at number 9 with 6 million. And then bringing up the rear at 10 is Kingdom Hearts with 5.9 million copies.
Of course, it was never a series I got into on that system. So
no, but Rockstar dominated that platform.
Yeah.
Absolutely smashed it. It was just, incredible.
The thing was, and again, I put myself in my shoes when I got that Xbox with Grand Theft Auto 3. What people may not appreciate now is that before that, the last Grand Theft Auto I'd played was a top-down, really simplified, quite a difficult game, but top-down, simplistic. This, to me, that's what the next generation of gaming was. It then brought it into a 3D world where you could almost do what you wanted. And that, to me, was what really made me think, wow, again, this is what gaming should be.
It's amazing that that's your point of reference. Not amazing, but that's your point of reference, is going from that top-down shooter to the 3D model Grand Theft Auto 3. And mine is Mario on a flat screen to Super Mario 3D. It's like yours is Grand Theft Auto, mine's fucking Mario. But
But I guess it's
that's how we grew up, people.
Yeah, but I guess it's one of those things because I remember on the Amiga playing Grand Theft Auto, one of them. I can't remember if it was 2 or London, and then being given a game called Grand Theft Auto and it being totally different. I thought, wow, this is what gaming is going to do. Okay?
It was mad. I've got a couple of other tiny little facts for you. So, whilst the DualShock 2 controller looked identical to the original, almost every button was, in fact, pressure sensitive. So, in Metal Gear Solid, you could half press a button to aim and a full press to fire if you chose to do so, which was new. As you've already said, the PS2 logo on the disc tray rotates. So, if you stood it vertically, you could twist it, and if not, then. And then the final one's the startup sound. So, the ambient whooshing sound on the startup screen. That noise is actually the sound of 1,000 different frequencies being played at once, which is meant to represent the universe.
There you go. All these little hidden things.
It's just, I love when they do all these things and and you kind of find them out. But yes, the machine itself was an absolute beast. It dominated the market. It was a result of incredibly cunning design, a hidden, not hidden DVD feature that meant it planted itself in the subconscious of people, not just as a game machine, but as a necessary part of the living room. The emotion engine itself was a bit of a gamble that paid off. It forced an entire generation of developers to get used to complex development. And to master that proprietary technology and architecture that Sony are now so good at. The technical specs, surpassed the Xbox and the GameCube, helped it dominate the market. You had David Lynch in there helping design, mad things like the third place. So it's just got, and a legacy of 160 million units and a library of games that continues to influence everything still to this day. So what a fucking legend.
It's honestly an amazing console. I don't remember it being that big, so the fact that it had a couple of revisions where you said it was quite an overhaul is impressive. John, for me, the only thing it was, and it's a shame, again, we talk about history and what if moments and that, is I just wish it had a slightly bigger controller, because I think I've said on here a couple of times, the reason I ended up giving mine away was that the controller was just a bit too small for me. So if I was, and look, I probably should have been playing for extended periods of time, right? But it was actually causing my wrists to hurt, my hands to hurt.
You were like the Goldilocks of fucking consoles, weren't you? The Duke was too big. I
never had the Duke. No, I never had the original Xbox. So I remember at the time, sort of borrowing an Xbox off a mate.
The 360 controller's just right.
But it was. The thing is, it was that much bigger, wasn't it? And the placement of the sticks, and it's a shame because, like I said, I loved my PlayStation. I love the original PlayStation. I love the PlayStation 2. Like I was saying, I think that's the OD criticism, and we weren't really in a day and age here where you had all the third party sort of accessories, I think.
Yeah, I love the DualShock, whatever it is. No, it's not DualShock now.
DualSense.
I love the DualShock in its day, but the DualSense now I think is a phenomenal piece of kit. I think the way that thing works, like in terms of the feedback for the games that develop for it, for the bot games and Horizon did it really well. Those games do fantastic things with that. So if you use it in the right way, I think it's brilliant. But I stand by ergonomically, and I'll fight anyone on this. I think for pure ergonomics and just ease of use, the Xbox controller is the pinnacle of control. I never get hand ache with that thing. I've been playing Crimson Desert and the combination of that, maybe the combination of button layout and presses on that thing is insane. And my hand, I never feel anything from it. I think if I was the same with trying to do that with something like the DualSense, I might have to fucking generative arthritis or something. A different point and a different episode. But PlayStation 2, absolute goat. Loved it. Still to this day, I think it's still an amazing piece of history as well. From a machine's perspective. And I think like I said, sliding doors moment. If some of these things hadn't happened, we'd never have had PlayStation as it is. So mad, isn't it?
Well, all I was going to say, my last thing on this is maybe we are looking at it through nostalgic lenses. Maybe we are old.
Always.
But it just feels like that was like of a console, that, and kind of like the Xbox 360, where you look at it and you think it was almost more than a console. It was, do you know what I mean? It was a part of
It was a
culture.
DVD player as well.
All right, Del Boy. No, but do you know what I mean? It felt like it was a part of culture, whereas now we just get a new console and it's just...
He's showing a bit of plastic stick on the TV. This was a game changer. Complete shift in how we approached it. The demographic it was aimed at, everything was just amazing. I loved it. You loved it. People out there should love it.
Let us know what you thought about it. Did you not like it? If you didn't, let us know.
And if you didn't, you were wrong. Right, Mr. P, anything else from you before we wrap up?
No, thank you for that. That was really interesting. And I can't wait to see some of the videos you put.
Every day's a school day, mate. Just to say, if you did like what you've heard, if you stuck with us for this long, thank you for joining us on the PlayStation 2 journey. If you did like what you heard, we know we have to earn this stuff. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us massively. And it doesn't mean a lot to you. It means the world to us. We love it. Please do comment. Please do talk to us, communicate with us, ask us questions, ask us nothing. Don't know, just random comments, whatever you like. We get some lovely ones, and I'm sure we'll get to the point where we start reading a few of those out, actually, particularly if you get some questions. That's it from me. Anything for you?
No, thank you for listening.
Done. Thank you for listening. Yeah, good way to finish. Thanks, mate. All right, have a lovely time on your onward journey. Whatever you're doing, people, we will catch you next week for an episode of Gaming Views.
Dan with a gaming flair, pixel dreams and worlds to share, joystick tales and button cues. Welcome